Hey, what's up folks? How's it going? This is Waj. Hope you guys are all doing well. And in this video, we're going to be taking a look at the new iMac Pro and do a head-to-head comparison between the standard 5K iMac. Now, there's a huge price difference. In fact, the Pro version of the iMac costs more than double what the 5K iMac costs. So what we're going to do is actually take a look at the internal difference in terms of specification, take a look at specific performance and benchmark results, take a look at the external finishing of both kind of units and see what you're really paying for on the Pro side besides the name, the space gray finish, and obviously the internal specs. So if you're interested in perhaps getting an iMac for the first time, upgrading, or just plain wondering why you would pay so much money for the Pro, perhaps this can enlighten you. So let's get right into it and find out. Now, firstly, I want to mention that both iMacs are in the baseline configuration, so we're testing out the cheapest version of the iMac Pro, which retails for just under $5,000, and the baseline configuration of the 5K 2017 iMac, which retails for under $1,800. So there's a huge price difference. But funny enough, when it comes to the overall build materials and design, both computers are pretty much identical. If you take a look at the back of the iMac Pro, you will notice that there's a large opening for better heat exhaust. Since the components inside are going to be a little bit more heavy duty and produce a little bit more heat, you're definitely going to need that larger opening. And apart from the sleek looking space gray finish that you get both on the Magic Mouse, keyboard, and iMac, there's not a huge difference between the standard 5K and the Pro from a cosmetic perspective. Additionally, one of the big highlights that I found when I first encountered the iMac back in 2015 is that the price was actually fairly affordable considering that you're getting a 5K display built in with a PC. Now, one thing that the iMac Pro doesn't have is an affordable price tag, and obviously the displays on both platforms pretty much identical in terms of overall brightness, color accuracy and rendition, and native resolution. They both measure at 5120 by 2880. Now, of course, it's not until you dive into the internal specifications where you start noticing the big differences. The new iMac Pro from the baseline configuration comes with a 8-core 16-thread CPU from Intel that's clocked around 3.2 gigahertz, and it can turbo up to 4.2 gigahertz. It has 19 megabytes of cache, 32 gigs of DDR4 memory that's in quad channel configuration, and it's clocked a lot higher than the standard 5K iMac memory, which is around 8 gigabytes, and we have the upgraded Vega 56 GPU and a blisteringly fast solid-state hard drive that's in a PCI Express configuration. Now, the processor that we find on the 2017 baseline model of the 5K iMac is a Core i5 7500 processor from Intel. It's a quad-core chip without hyperthreading, clocked at about 3.4 gigahertz, and it can turbo up to 3.8 gigahertz based on the Kaby Lake architecture. In terms of graphics, it's using the Radeon Pro 570 and a 1 terabyte Fusion drive, which is certainly not as fast as a full-fledged SSD, which we're going to take a look at in terms of the performance results. In terms of connectivity, there's a couple of changes. One, you have a 10 gigabit Ethernet connection on the iMac Pro, as well as 4 USB 3 connections, as well as 4 Thunderbolt 3 connections / USB Type-C. So a lot more connectivity when it comes to Thunderbolt 3 and USB-C, and it's definitely nice to have that 10 gigabit Ethernet, especially for a future-proof standpoint. Now, moving forward, let's get on to the good stuff, and that's the benchmark results. Let's first talk about our favorite CPU benchmark results that everyone loves to use, which is Cinebench R15. On our CPU test, we got a score about 1689 on the iMac Pro using our 8-core 16-threaded Xenon processor that's built inside, and our Core i5, which is just, again, a quad-core with 4 threads in the operating system, got a score about 595, so certainly a huge difference in terms of CPU performance, and our Geekbench results mirror that very well in terms of the single-threaded performance. Both are in the 5,000 mark category, a little bit faster on the iMac Pro side in terms of single-thread performance, but in terms of multi-core, obviously the iMac Pro blows the standard 5K out of the water, getting over 31,000 points versus 14,000 points on the 5K iMac. Now, in terms of the graphics performance, using Unigen's Valley benchmark at 1080p, ultra detail settings, pretty much everything at maximum, we're getting about 58.7 average frames per second version on the iMac Pro versus in the same scenario, we're getting about 38.6 average frames per second on the 5K iMac. Furthermore, as we mentioned before, there's a huge difference in terms of the read and write performance on both the SSD and the Fusion drive. And even though the Fusion drive is not too bad, getting a maximum read and write speed about 800 megabytes a second and about 1 gigabyte a second respectively, versus if you take a look at the solid state performance on our iMac Pro, we're getting over 3 gigabytes a second in terms of write performance, and read performance is pretty good too at 2.4 gigabytes a second. Now lastly, since iMacs are very favorable amongst people who do a lot of creative endeavors like myself, I want to see what the render output times are like both in Final Cut X and After Effects. So rendering out a 4K 6-minute file on Final Cut, it took about 55 seconds to complete on the iMac Pro versus about a minute 50 seconds on the standard 5K iMac. And when rendering out a 4K project on After Effects, it only took about 38 seconds to complete versus it took about 1 minute 35 seconds to complete on the standard 5K iMac. So pretty big difference there for sure. But besides that, guys, that's really it. Now, for most people, they're probably not going to get the base model version of the 5K iMac. They're probably going to upgrade to the Core i7 model, get more RAM, better overall graphics card. And even with those upgrades, you're still going to be half the price of typically what most people are going to spend on the iMac Pro. So in a lot of cases, if you're just kind of an average prosumer, do a little bit of video editing, photo editing, I think in 99% of cases, the standard kind of upgraded version of the 5K iMac will suit you just fine. It'll be good for a couple of years, and I would probably definitely not justify the price of what the 5K Pro version of the iMac goes for. Certainly in terms of displays, very, very similar overall experience that you're going to get on both platforms. Now, certainly with the potential upgrades that you can do to the Pro side of the iMac, certainly is appealing for some people that have an unlimited amount of money to spend, but you're going to find yourself down the road. Most of these components are going to be out of date as technology moves very, very fast, and you're not going to really be able to upgrade them as quickly and efficiency as you are going to be doing on a traditional kind of custom built PC platform side of things. So that's something definitely to consider for those of you guys that are on a serious large budget. But in most cases, I think most Apple users are just going to be fine with the standard version of the 5K iMac. Hopefully you guys have something interesting to share in the comment section down below. Give us a thumbs up if you like this video, and thank you so much for your support. If you are interested in seeing how a PC that's equivalently priced to the Pro version of the iMac, definitely click on the card or check out the description down below for more details. But other than that, thanks again for watching, thanks for your support, and we'll see you later. Take care.